Shuckalugga kapow. How's it going, old schoolers? You're kicking it old school with Russell J.S., and I am your host, Russell J.S. I went ahead and made a Kicking It Old School video earlier today where I went down to the flea market to go browse around. And you know what? I actually went and bought some really cool items, some of which may be of old school proportion, that I'm going to share a haul with you. And also, I'm doing yet another video, a track by track originals versus covers from the Kiss My Ass Kiss Tribute CD. But before we get into that, remember, if you're new to the channel, hit a like, subscribe, leave comments in the box down below, ring the bell for notifications, and tell your friends about the channel. Let's help build the channel. Let's all kick it old school. And without further ado, let's go ahead and check out the bad Oscar of a haul that I got. First item I picked up, well, as you know, I introduced you to the member of our family, Ollie. Say hello, buddy. Say hello. Say hello. He's camera shy. But you know what? I found this one item for 20 bucks, and I couldn't resist but to buy it. Check it out. Another version of Ollie right there. You know, made out of ceramic. I mean, you find some of these statues that are realistic looking of your dog. Some of them, they'll go for like somewhere around like $150 to $200 a piece. But I found this little guy here for 20 bucks. It looks just like Ollie, doesn't it? Ollie kind of took a liking to it himself. But another item I went ahead and picked up, even though I have, the entire franchise on DVD, I'm going to sell 7 of the 8 originals because part 6 is autographed, as you know, autographed by the writer and director and one of the stars. So I got the 8 movie collection of the original Friday the 13th movies on Blu-ray. Now, I'm going to keep my DVD copy of Part 6 because it's autographed by writer and director Tom McLaughlin and star Tom Fridley. So, I'm probably going to put them up on eBay sometime soon. And then the next item that I picked up was this really cool AC/DC tin sign for 12 bucks. That Blu-ray set I got for 5, by the way. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this up on my wall. They had like Black Sabbath one, they had a Zeppelin one, but these things are like 12 bucks a piece and they're made here in the US of A. But look at that, you got all the imagery from the Bon Scott era all the way to Rock or Bust. This is gonna be totally cool when I hang it up. And last but certainly not the least, I got this replica of the original movie poster for the movie Scarface in a frame. And, those are not the real autographs by the cast, but they are remakes. But still, all in all, I think this is like a really cool piece. I mean, anybody that loves the movie Scarface like I do would agree with me on this. I mean, look at that. You got that shot of Michelle Pfeiffer, 2 shots of Al Pacino. I mean, just a really cool piece right here to have. So that's the haul for the for the flea market that I went and did today. Now, for the main event of this video, I've got my trusty book out. We are going to rank the artist's version of Kiss Classics versus the original version written by Paul, Gene, Ace, and Peter. So let's get this bad Oscar rolling, shall we? All right, let me flip to it. Shout it, shout it, shout it out loud. You got to have a party. Shout it, shout it, shout it out loud. All right, where is it? Let's see. Battle of the Soundtracks. All right, here we are. Another Battle of the Soundtrack. Here we go. The tracks are listed. All the tracks, and I'm ranking them from which is better, the original version or the tribute. You wanted the best, you got the best, the hottest band in the world, Kiss. Okay, here we go. First track, Deuce. That was covered by Lenny Kravitz. Now, it's one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time. It came off Kiss's self-titled debut from '74. I mean, I love the way it sounds, how raunchy and how, how raw it is. But I have to say, I did really dig Lenny Kravitz's version of the tune. I mean, he added his own kind of vibe to it. And, Kravitz in his own right is an awesome musician. I mean, I can remember when the video debuted on MTV for the song Are You Gonna Go My Way? There he was, dressed in 70s funk garb. He had the flying V going on. I mean, he almost reminded me of like what would happen if Jimi Hendrix and Bob Marley were able to have a baby. What would happen? And that's what it reminded me of. It had that funky kind of vibe to it. I mean, heck, I think John Paul Jones of Led Zeppelin, he did play live on that album at the Video Awards at that time. And I hear that Slash and Lenny were actually school buddies way back when. I don't know. For all you Guns N' Roses aficionados out there and Lenny Kravitz fans, leave comments in the box down below. Let me know, because I had heard that. I don't know how true it is. But, let me know down in the comments. Now, back to the ratings, the ranking. Deuce, original versus cover. Like I said, I love both versions. So I'm going to give them both a point. Hard Luck Woman, covered by Garth Brooks. Now, here is a real twist. Back in the early 1990s, Garth Brooks was one of the biggest selling country artists of all time. I mean, he was right up there with, well, I don't know too much about country, but, Randy Travis and Travis Tritt. But man, did everybody love Garth. And I never knew that Garth, in his heart, was a hard rocker. And now, he didn't do the song in his own way. Just imagine a country version. I mean, it would have been cool if he would have done it in the style of country. Just imagine. You be a hard luck woman, baby, till you find your man. But you know what was cool about it? He did it in the style of Kiss, not only, but Kiss was his backup band on the track. I mean, they even performed, I think it was either on David Letterman or Jay Leno, I'm not sure, but they went ahead and performed together the track. So you know what? I've got to give them both a point. I got to do it. I got to give originals and the tribute a point. She, performed by Anthrax. Once again, the recording of that track was produced by, I think, Gene. And it almost sounds like a heavier version of the original. And I love this song. I mean, one thing you could give Gene credit for is when it comes to him and Paul writing tunes, when they write together, they could put together some really great songs, almost like Lennon and McCartney, or Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. Or, say, Page and Plant. Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. But you know what? Once again, because I love both versions, I got to give them each a point. Christine 16, Gin Blossom's version. Now, I do have a place in my heart for the Gin Blossoms. I do love their music, like Hey Jealousy, Found Out About You, Follow You Down, great stuff. Great stuff. But unfortunately, I wasn't feeling the vibe of this version, so point for the originals. Rock and Roll All Night, covered by Toad the Wet Sprocket, or as I used to call them, Turd the Wet Sprocket. No. Toad the Wet Sprocket, they had that one hit and they were gone. And I guess they thought that they would further their career. So yeah, even though I like the live version of Rock and Roll All Night way better even than the studio version, I'm giving it to the originals. Calling Dr. Love, performed by Shandy's Addiction. You know what? Originals. Yeah, I didn't like Shandy's Addiction version. Going Blind, performed by Dinosaur Jr. You know, I'm not really big. I don't know too much about Dinosaur Jr. I mean, those of you who grew up in the late 80s, early 90s like I did, if you give me a rundown in the comments section, tell me about their music, please do so. I do love this version, however, and I love the original version, so you know what? They both get a point. Strutter, performed by Extreme. Yeah, I heard this version. They tried to funk it out a little bit. I am not a big Extreme fan. You know, I never thought Extreme was really good. I mean, I thought it was an honest to God mistake that Eddie Van Halen decided to make Gary Sharon. Is it Gary Sharon or Sherry Garone? I don't know. But to make them their frontman, I mean, look at what happened with that Van Halen 3 record. I mean, when that dropped in 98, it tanked. It only sold like 300,000 copies when, you know, Halen usually sells albums in the millions. And you know what? This version sucks, so it goes only to the originals. Plaster Caster, originally performed by the Lemonheads. It's a great song. Once again, another great tune, but I prefer the original. Detroit Rock City, performed by the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. You know what? It really sounded good, and then it lost me in the horn section, you know, like where they were trying to do a ska version of Detroit Rock City. I mean, it sounded really cool at the beginning where you get this part where you hear like an answering machine going on where it's Gene going, it's Gene Simmons, yeah, about Detroit Rock City. Originally, the band we had that reserved for was going to be Megadeth, so if you want to exclude Detroit Rock City, any other cover song you want to do is fine. And then they break into it, and, you know, it's like the whole concept of ska. You know, what it's supposed to be is punk rock with a horn section. No, it does not fly with me. So originals get it. Now, last but not least, and I really like this track despite it wasn't rocking like the original, Black Diamond, performed by Yoshiki, I think it is. Probably a Japanese symphony composer. You got to go ahead. I mean, if you haven't bought this, never bought this CD, find it on eBay and, you know, find it wherever you can find it and go to this track at 11. I mean, it sounds like symphony, but you know what? It reminds me of, you know, like a symphony from an epic movie. It reminds me of something out of Ben-Hur. It reminds me of something like, I don't want to really say Close Encounters of the Third Kind or Star Wars. If anything, I would say, if you ever seen the kind of dirty animated movie Heavy Metal, the scene where Tarna is discovering her roots as a Tarakian, where she, you know, swims naked into that, you know, big pool in the temple, and she puts on her armor to go ahead and fight against those who opposed, you know, she's the last of her kind. That orchestra that Elmer Bernstein had displayed, you know, that's what it reminds me of. And it reminds me of something out of I'll say that it reminds me of something out of a Star Wars movie as well. So you know what? I love the song Black Diamond and I love the tribute cover. So they both get a point. And now, the end result. And in this final battle, we got originals with 11 points, tribute covers, 5 points. Originals win. Yes. Now, here's the thing. some of these tracks, you know, Kiss could have added some more. They could have had bands like Pantera. They could have had like Megadeth or, you know, say Slaughter. You know, if you remember, the band Slaughter was once known as the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, who Vinnie Vincent at one time replaced Ace Frehley in Kiss, where he actually uncredited played on Creatures of the Night, and he also credited finally played on Lick It Up, the first album Kiss put out without makeup, and he was the Ankh Warrior dude. But yep, there you have it. I gave you a really cool flea market haul, and I went ahead and did a track versus track off a tribute album. So that's all I have for this video. And remember, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it chill. Listen to 70s and 80s hard rock, or, you know, 80s rock. Play Atari, Nintendo, ColecoVision, and Television, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, Atari Jaguar, Game Boy, Game Gear, Super Nintendo. Watch 80s TV shows, watch 80s movies. Get you enough of less drama, less chaos, more peace, more love, more tranquility. Godspeed. May the force be with you always, and shucka-lucka kapow.